Welcome back, senior devs. Sean Cannon here. In this lesson, we're going to talk about having a proactive mindset. I personally think there's a difference between being proactive and having a proactive mindset when it comes to being a software professional, and both are important in their own respect. For example, in my day-to-day, I have a lot of small maintenance tasks that I need to do to help other people do their jobs. I need to make sure my hours are entered every day, both in our project tracking system as well as itemized on each ticket in our issue tracking system. I need to make sure all my tickets are in the correct swim lanes and see if anybody has commented on them which require action from me. I also need to review and close out tickets from other devs which have assigned me as a dev tester. This is important because the product team is constantly looking at the Kanban board to gauge the health of the current sprint, and if the tickets are in the wrong place, then they can't do their jobs. I also need to do code reviews on pull requests and approve or reject accordingly. Sometimes devs can work on other things while they wait to merge their code, but sometimes they're blocked until their PR is approved, and we'll start asking the team to do a quick review to unblock them. When there's a sense of urgency and pressure on a code review, I find that devs will do blind approvals to keep their peers unblocked, but that just introduces bugs, so I need to get in there and review code before that happens to make sure the code quality stays high. And of course, the meetings. Always with the meetings, right? So everything I just listed is merely a subset of responsibilities, and none of what I just listed is writing code or architecting a system. Being proactive with these responsibilities means I try to do them before someone pokes me with a reminder that they're waiting. This really just comes down to responsible scheduling, where I try to spend the first half of my day keeping people unblocked and the second half of my day getting in the flow state writing code. Not every day works out like this, but it's still a goal, and if I have too many meetings or foreseen interruptions in a day, I don't even bother trying to write code that day. Now, what's the worst thing that can happen if I choose to be reactive instead of proactive with these responsibilities and just prioritize my coding tickets? Well, I'll absolutely be constantly interrupted with chat notifications, asking for code reviews or to move my tickets, or to check in with another dev to see how they're doing, or that I'm late to a meeting, and so on. It's not the end of the world, but it's certainly annoying and distracting both for me and especially for the people who are waiting on me. And I can assure you that being proactive with all this keeps me in control of my schedule so that when I do code, I'm able to focus and write great code. With that, we're going to transition now from being proactive to having a proactive mindset. When we architect systems, regardless if it's at the network level with the microservices or at the UI level with components, we need to have a proactive mindset when implementing anything. Before writing any code, we need to stop and step back a bit and consider all the moving pieces. Does our new code play nicely with the rest of the system, or is it a bolt-on solution that will require other areas of the code base to know about it and accommodate it so that things don't break? For example, on my current project, we have a media platform microservice whose primary job is to save and retrieve media assets into the static asset store, which in our case is Amazon S3. On the UI, we have a file uploader, and when the user selects a file to upload, React makes an API call to the media platform, which in turn provides a pre-signed S3 URL that React can then use to upload the file directly to S3. This is a great solution because it plays nicely with our auth tokens, and we don't have to unnecessarily pipe binary through our microservices. The problem is that one of the customers has a firewall that blocks AWS URLs, so they couldn't upload the files. The solution that was implemented by DevOps was to proxy the S3 host through Akamai, so the customer's firewall will allow it since it has the same domain name as the rest of the app. The problem now is that everywhere else in our microservice suite that was dealing with the S3 is going through Akamai, which is really expensive. So I get a ticket that says, use Akamai for custom-facing applications and bypass the proxy for internal-facing applications. Having a proactive mindset tells me a few things. We need a way to easily manage the list of internal and customer-facing applications. Our code needs a way to identify if a request matches one of the applications on the list. And lastly, the code shouldn't care at all about S3 or Akamai, because again, the proactive mindset tells me that my client may want to change from AWS to Google Store or switch from Akamai to Cloudflare, something along those lines. So I spent a couple hours just thinking about all the moving pieces. It would be super easy to write some conditional logic in the media platform and be done with it, but then I'd be coding us into a corner. The code wouldn't scale because we'd have to come back to the code when we wanted to change something. So my first approach was to leverage the data, not code. I made a dictionary of the supported host names and mapped them to our respective pre-signed URL hostname. This dictionary is a simple JSON object that is now stored in param store and can be fully automated and populated by the DevOps team. It can be different on each platform tier in the infrastructure, and my code won't know or care. My code simply interpolates the pre-signed URL hostname with the value assigned to the inbound origin hostname. The code doesn't care if the request is coming from a browser or another microservice or a developer tool like Postman. It's easy to test both with unit test as well as an integration test, And as we build new applications, both internal and customer facing, DevOps simply just needs to add their host names to the dictionary and the proxy switch will work exactly the same. The client can change from Akamai to Cloudflare and the code will work exactly the same, and the client can change from S3 to GCS and the code will work exactly the same. So while you can see that having a proactive mindset can save thousands of hours and dollars on projects, there are two aspects of this mindset that can get you in trouble, so you need to be careful: pre-optimization and over-engineering. As great as it is to write future-proof and blazing fast code, sometimes the project just isn't ready for it, and you need to get something out the door so that the project can earn money. If you have two options that solve the same problem, where one is a quick and dirty option and the other is robust but will push the roadmap back, it's often better to build the quick and dirty one and immediately create a technical debt ticket to refactor it to a more robust solution later on. Our clients and employers need to make money from the code that we deliver, and being able to understand that and communicate a balanced stance to the product team that you want the project to succeed, but that ultimately it's their responsibility to include some technical debt tickets in every sprint is critical. They need to understand that every compromise puts future sprint at risk of screeching to a halt while we rebuild some infrastructure to support a new feature or put all hands on deck to fix the flaw in the system. Your ability to be proactive directly aligns with your ability to foresee and anticipate issues, and the best way you can improve this is to step back from what you're currently working on and consider as many other factors as you can. If any of those external factors will be affected by your task or affect your task, then simply consider them when you work on your task, deal with them or not, do it now or do it later, and ultimately just track the work so people around you can understand the moving pieces as well as you do. The more you do this, the better you will become, and it'll start to happen naturally. Catching and considering potential issues early on will really increase your value on the project, and you'll most likely find yourself being invited to more and more architectural meetings and feature planning sessions. The key stakeholders will turn to you as an authority to help them sign off on the roadmap and help them avoid making unrealistic deadline promises to customers or corporate execs that would put the project at risk. That wraps up this module. Keep growing, and I'll see you in the next one.